1831, in Southampton, Virginia, a slave by the name of Nat Turner lived. Heavily influenced by the Bible, Turner began to set in motion an act that would lead into the new phase of all blacks living across the South.
After Nat Turner, he reinterpreted religion. See, he reinterpreted religion. No one before Nat Turner never saw a role as a black man in religion. Unless the book of Revelation that defined a man with white woolly hair and brown skin. But Nat Turner took that Bible and said, if Moses can do it, God's going to give me the power to do it. And I'm going to walk in Jerusalem just like John. Now, Petersburg, he was hoping that free Negro from Petersburg, Norfolk, and all that joined him. But they never did it. They never did it.
Why do you think that they didn't do it?
Because of strenuous fear and intimidation.
After interpreting a solar eclipse as a divine message, he led a group of 70-plus slaves in a campaign of violence, which resulted in dozens of men, women, and children being murdered. In his museum, Mr. Stewart shows us a physical remnant of this period in time.
These are slave shackers here. 18th century slave shack for Big Bubba. Hey, $5,000 if you want to buy a pair now. That's what they cost. This represents the suffering of the black folks, the black slave that suffered on the Appomattox River only less than 3/4 of a mile away from here, how they were shackled. Also, Nat Turner, did you help us, did you hurt us? Now, for the man in bondage, and you stayed in there another 30 plus years after you, Nat Turner, I don't know. But these here represent slavery, but this here is supposed to represent you. This is what Nat Turner killed a lot of his master and kids with. They chopped them up with what you call a broadaxe. That's what this is.
Knowing what those were used for and all the horrible things that have happened with them, how does that make you feel when you're holding them, knowing the history of what those were used for?
When I feel the spirits of yesterday, it hurts. It hurts to know what they went through. I have read the articles about slavery on the Appomattox. Down in this area, some of them tried to escape and come into Pocahontas, and they put them snails around the neck. But with me preserving Pocahontas, and the spirits of yesterday is still here, and I can tell a story of suffering, I believe I'm accommodating what they want. That's my belief. But these things here make me feel sad, very sad, that the arm prints of some slave is inside these shackles.
The rebellion began on August 22nd, 1831. Within 72 hours, their forces were crushed due to an overwhelming force from militias supported by U.S. artillery fire. Mr. Stewart shows us a list of those involved with the rebellion.
Here's a list of them. Free Negro, children, either you was acquitted, you was hung, or you was transported out of the state. Right there.
It wanted to see free blacks, not the Turner Revolt, but the whites in control wanted to use that rebellion as a way of dealing with the growing presence of free blacks.
Do they know the aftermath instead of celebrating the horror of Nat Turner? How did it affect the free Negro in the state of Virginia and in Southampton? It hurt us more than it helped us. Even though Nat Turner's slave revolts are based upon he was inspired by the Bible, but The aftermath, we were once again put in the same category as a slave, a free Negro. For every one slave master and children that Turner killed, if you go from the Mississippi to Louisiana to North Carolina, Virginia, and throughout the eastern seaboard, eastern coast, probably you got more than 5 blacks was killed for every one person, or even more. There in Southampton, you probably hundreds of people was killed there. Even we lost our reputation here in Pocahontas as well, more or less, the white man get along with us. That's what I said. They didn't trust us any longer, and they watched us. They placed restrictions. At a certain time, we could not go out in the street. The black codes was in force. They watched us. You could not have a gun. You could not do anything. The aftermath of Nat Turner need to be taught. It lasted more than Nat Turner slavery vote might have lasted less than 30 days, but for nearly 30 plus years until the Emancipation Proclamation, we suffered.
There was a tremendous fear that all these free blacks in Virginia would be a problem, that they would destabilize the slave system. And so they decided to use that as a way of helping to change that. Keep in mind also, Southampton County had the largest percentage-wise of free blacks than any place else in the country. So there was a rhyme to, a reason to their actions. They wanted to stop free blacks from learning how to read and write. So they passed a law closing down all schools for free blacks, even though not a single free black was even remotely accused of being involved in the revolt. But they used that as an excuse to deal with what they considered to be a big security issue.